Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 online action. Today we're back with Throgg, the Troll King, gonna be taking on the Foul Beastmen. So definitely is in for some chaotic fun today here in the jungle. Let's take a look at the army compositions. So Throgg, of course, anti-large, armor piercing, he's got frostbite and regeneration. Since the vampires don't have access to lure of fire, the regenerating units are going to be a bit safer against them. So of course Throgg here, with his multitude of abilities and his massive weapon strength, is going to be very strong. He's got Wintertooth Crown to make everybody in an area of effect unbreakable, fight or die from extra melee attack and leadership, and the copious vomit. In terms of the infantry composition, got a front line of Marauders mixed with 3 Berserkers, 4 Marauders, 3 Berserkers. Brutes of the Hound are in the center. Also got a unit of Marauder Javelins, Famir, Balefiend, Lore of Fire, so that in case we come up against the Butchers of Kalkengard, we can counter them. Likewise, Burning Head's pretty good against the low armor Beastmen infantry with their relatively low leadership as well. Hoping to synergize that with these Famir Miststalkers here to potentially proc a terror route. We've also got another unit of Famir, this one I believe with great weapons, yep. And we've got a Hound force of some Norscan Ice Wolves and the Beasts of Tashnar, the anti-large Regiment of Renown version of the Norscan Warhounds. So that's it for my build. For my opponent, he's got a front line of Ungor Spearman Herd mixed with Ungor Herd, so nice and cheap. He's got lots of bodies to throw at me here. Koroks Man Rippers holding up the center with some Minotaurs. He's got Brave Shaman Lore of Shadows and Morker the Shadow Gave. He's also got a flanking force of some Poison Warhounds and the Sons of Goros Regiment of Renown. Centaurs with great weapons. These guys, of course, have Guardian. They also have greater armor and magic attacks than typical Centaurs. So let's kick the battle into full gear. There are more Centaurs and Hounds over here who are going to be clashing with my mobile force. Unfortunately, I didn't spot them in time, so my opponent is going to get the charge on me there. But in the main line, we should be able to win pretty decisively. Obviously, yeah, Ungors are going to suffer pretty badly, even against the basic Marauders. We've got the Icehorn Marauders here with their cloaks looking very cool. But yeah, all through the center, it's just going to be a mash of Beastmen infantry. Even these Destroyers of Drakvald here are just going to get mashed on because of their relatively low stats. I mean, they do have pretty good melee defense, but just overwhelming numbers here. The Marauder Berserkers getting in. And yeah, you can see we're unloading some volleys of javelins here into these Minotaurs. Unfortunately, I don't have enough units to protect my back line, so my opponent is going to get through with these Poison Warhounds and shut down those javelins in just a moment. Over here, I am losing out my Hound force. I did hook some Marauders over to help support there, but the Beasts of Tashnar have been routed. We should be able to get them rallied, though. But yeah, in the center, obviously the Ungors are going to suffer pretty badly here. We had a nice Burning Head go off on the other side, but my opponent responded with his Shadow Sorcerer, getting a really nice Penumbral Pendulum. You can see the scar kind of going through the ground there. And these Koroks Man Rippers are going to be a tough unit to deal with. In addition, we've also got lots of Chaos Spawn up in the back line. Chaos Spawn are going to be really good against Berserkers with their low armor and low defensive stats. You can see the Brutes of the Hound just getting exploded by these Chaos Spawn here. Throgg's having a tough time, but you know, he's got the regeneration, so he should be able to tank through most of this here. He's bashing through those Minotaurs, and he's also been bashing Gorebull around quite a bit as well. Gorebull, unfortunately, just not what he used to be. His mass issues in Total War Warhammer 2 have still not been fixed, and it really makes him tough to use. Like, Throgg's probably going to come in here and just punt him and knock him around a whole bunch, but yeah. Maybe, maybe not. We're going to put that Cascading Fire Cloak on Throgg to give him some extra melee defense and weapon strength as he duels it out with Gorebull here, kind of kicking him in the crotch and punching him in the face with the Warhammer. And yeah, Gorebull's definitely not going to be happy about that situation. Also smacking down one of those Chaos Spawn. At this point, the Koroks Man Rippers and plenty of Ungors have rallied, and this is the thing, is my infantry line, the Norskins can rush very effectively, but they really don't have too much staying power. You can see at this point, a lot of my Marauders are actually gone, just because my opponent has so many bodies to throw at me here. There's still Ungors hanging around, the Koroks Man Rippers are still hanging around, Morker is still relatively healthy, and the balance of power is surprisingly close. My opponent has a lot more units than I do, but I have just a few elite units left, that are very powerful. The Miststalkers are pretty much holding out this entire pocket by themselves at this point. Everything else is crumbled away. Destroyers of Drakwold are still hanging around just because they get terrified, and they run away, and then they come back. So yeah, the Famir Miststalkers, though, especially this regiment renowned with their fear and terror, are going to be very key in this late game engagement here. You can see we do still have some Berserkers holding out here with the Famir with great weapons in this pocket. It's a very brutal and bloody fight. Throgg managed to pretty much break the Gorebull, almost shatter him, only 78 HP left on the Gorebull, so yeah, at this point he's just going to be kind of kicking these Ungors around. There we go. Head kick. Love that animation. Anyway, the Miststalkers are going to come rear charge this pocket here and get a nice terror route going. A lot of these units being routed off. Unfortunately, my Balefiend Lord of Fire also being routed off. So yeah, it's pretty close, honestly, at this point. The balance of power is in my opponent's favor still. I'm not really sure why. Just because I have a terror-causing unit on the field, and it's going to be pretty hard for the Beastmen to hold their leadership together at this point. You can see a lot of units getting terrified away, but the balance of power is still very close. And I pretty much only have Throgg and these Famir left. We're going to pop that Wintertooth Crown to make sure everybody stays in here. And yeah, it's going to be up to Throgg, the Famir with great weapons, and the Miststalkers to kind of carry the day here in a bit of a Death Star. And Famir, I find, are a very tough unit for the Beastmen to deal with. They really don't have too many answers. If you can sunder their armor, the Ungor Raiders have a high enough volume of fire that they can actually do a pretty surprising amount of damage. So that might be a way to go. Just going mass Centaurs with lots of throwing axes might be viable as well. You can see the Destroyers of Drakwold coming back and then deciding they really don't want to be a part of this and leaving again. The Famir just kind of running around being an absolute nuisance here. We're trying to finish off the Beastman leadership at this point, but we'll fast forward a little bit through this late game engagement as my opponent reforms his last force here. We're going to get a nice vomit and pretty much just delete what was left of one of those units of spearmen. And then, yeah, we're going to get the final engagement underway. You can see these, are these the Brutes of the Hound? I believe so. Still 7 of them left. Throgg and the Famir also getting in here. My opponent's going to drop a Penumbral Pendulum, which will catch a couple of those Berserkers, but not much else. And yeah, at this point, it's going to be pretty rough. The Miststalkers went over to terrify the units in this pocket. And finally, the balance of power is pulling ahead in my favor. We're going to be able to bring this one back and bring it on home. You can see Mortar running in here with his crab hand. He's not too happy about the situation, but yeah, this Miststalker is going to have something to say about it, as will Throgg, of course. And these 2 Brutes of the Hound are, what, 4 or 5? Oh no, there's still a whole bunch of them. Wow. Yeah, 10 Brutes of the Hound. Oh no, those are just regular Berserkers. Okay, that makes more sense. I was wondering, I was like, I thought they were almost dead. But anyway, very fun battle. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. It's a matchup that I find actually is one of the hardest for the Beastmen, just because the Norskins have such good answers to low armor monsters, and that's kind of the bread and butter of the Beastmen, where a lot of their offensive power is. Vestigor are just going to get mashed hard by Famir, so I don't know. It may be worth experimenting. You know, like I said, Ungor Raiders, if you were to sunder armor with something like Soul Blight, for example, or maybe Withering, you could potentially get more value out of your Ungor Raiders there shooting at the Famir. If you went mass Centaurs with, you know, 4 Centaurs with throwing axes, and then you just try and spread your opponent out, just kind of charge in, use the regular Centaurs to get rid of infantry, and then use the throwing axes to get rid of the Famir, maybe that would work. I have to do some theory crafting and see, but yeah, I definitely feel that the Norskins have the advantage in this matchup. They're just such a strong rush faction. They deal very well with low armor infantry and low armor monsters. And yeah, they can synergize well to deal with even armored infantry and armored monsters quite well. So yeah, it can be very rough for the Beastmen. 124 kills on Throgg. The Berserkers as well, 153 and 153 on the Brutes of the Hound, 84 on these guys. Only 10 kills on the Hunters with Javelins, but they were able to do quite a bit of HP damage to those Minotaurs. The 2 Famir also racking up just a ton of kills, 152 and 141. And obviously we were fighting against a pretty wide Beastman army with lots of Ungors, but still, those are pretty impressive kill totals. The Norscan Isles were able to kind of come back in the 4th quarter there and help swing that mobility engagement. For my opponent, his Centaurs actually did quite well, as did these Chaos Poison Warhounds, 120 kills, and I didn't have as big of an army. But yeah, getting in the back line, getting rid of those javelins was very key. And that's the thing about the Beastmen, is you can definitely take a mobility advantage over Norska. I think that, yeah, honestly, something that I might try is something a little bit more like this. So Morgar obviously is the most competitive pick. People might say he's boring, but I mean, there's no arguing that he's powerful. Certainly in Chaos Spawn are particularly powerful in this matchup, so I definitely would take Morgar here. Cut Foe Seeker, probably keep Call of Violence, and of course take the Stave of Ruinous Corruption. Gorebull, as I said in the battle, he has mass issues. I'm really not the biggest fan in this particular matchup, so I'm going to leave Gorebull at home. And let's actually take a Braciaman Lore of Death here. We can take Spirit Leech for some direct damage to somebody like Wolfric in case they take him, or you know, the Famir Bale Fiend or other caster. And then Soul Blight could be pretty good as well. Fated Buna, you don't really face too much elite infantry or elite cav against Norska, so there's not really a place for Fated Buna there, I don't think. Purple Sun, perhaps, although you don't typically face huge infantry blobs. Typically it's a little bit smaller infantry blobs supported by other troops. But anyway, we'll take the Jagged Dagger as well. And you could also perhaps take Doom and Darkness. But yeah, basically the idea here is you're going to use Soul Blight with some Ungor Raiders. Now, I haven't actually tried this, but Turin and I, during the early access period, were playing a few games, and he had something similar to this. I don't know if it was exactly like this, but he had something similar that did reasonably well. Korok's Man Rippers are a pretty solid choice, and maybe a couple more Best Score Herd, and we're going to support with some Ungor Spearmen. And this leaves us with a little bit of funds left over to do some Centaur action, which we definitely are going to want. Let's grab a couple with throwing axes, and then we've still got 1,500, so we could either do 2 non-AP Centaurs or just bring the Sons of Goros. And then that leaves us with a bit of extra funds to play with, another 200, so you could maybe dole out some chevrons, maybe upgrade a unit or two, or maybe you cut the Destroyers of Drakewald to a regular Ungor Spearman Herd, so then you can bring a 5th. Some different options there, but something I think like this might work. I'd have to do a little bit of testing. It also could be tough to hold back. You might want to try and do something like this, where you maybe cut one of these Bestigor Herd, cut another Ungor Spearman Herd, and maybe bring a Minotaur. Minotaurs with shields are probably going to be the way to go here, just because they do have a missile block chance, so in case your opponent does bring javelins, they will negate at least some amount of the small arms fire from the front. So yeah, something like this gives you a high mass option to kind of pin in Famir if they try and pull through your back line and get onto these Ungor Raiders. Obviously, this is a more narrow army than what my opponent had brought, but I mean, you could even go a little bit different but with it, but this is just a little bit of theory crafting here. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. What has been your experience fighting the Norskins with the Beastmen, or vice versa? Let me know your thoughts. Appreciate you guys watching. Thank you very much. Hope you guys enjoy the content. If you do so, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button, and all that jazz. Thank you once again, and we'll see you next time.